Hello everyone, and in today's video let's take a look at Sandmarc Motion Filter that's compatible with the GoPro Hero 9 and Hero 10 Black. Let's take a look what we have inside. So this is what we have inside of the package, and as you can see it's a soft little pouch, and inside of it we have an ND filter. Hey, but wait a second, what is exactly an ND filter and what does it do? Well, an ND filter is like sunglasses for our GoPro. You simply reduce the amount of light that's coming through the lens of the camera into the sensor. In other words, you put a dark piece of glass on top of your lens to block out the sun. Alright, so this is how the motion filter from Sandmarc looks like, and as you can see, from the bottom it's made from some premium plastic. And if you take a closer look at the top of it, you'll notice that there is this aluminum ring. This ring can rotate either clockwise or anti-clockwise, so you can manually adjust how much light gonna enter into your camera. Okay, I get it, but why do we use ND filters? Well, we use ND filters to get that cinematic Hollywood motion blur in our footage whenever things are in motion. Without an ND filter, every movement gonna be like crystal clear. So whenever you stop your footage, you will see that there is no motion blur in it. However, if you use an ND filter and you follow a 180-degree rule, which is a standard in Hollywood by the way, you're gonna get that motion blur in your video. Let me quickly show you how to mount Sandmarc Motion Filter on the GoPro Hero 10 Black. Okay, so this is how the motion filter from Sandmarc looks like on the GoPro Hero 10 Black. As you see, it adds a little bit of bulk to the camera because it's sticking out so much, and it also adds a little bit of weight to it. Okay, but how does it work for video or photo? Well, let me show it to you. Okay, so let's say that you want to set your GoPro to some cinematic settings. You go to Pro Tune and you want to set that shutter speed to twice your frame rate. And this is what happens. So as soon as you do that, notice that the whole scene gets dramatically overexposed. Just look at the sky, how much it's blown out. There are no information, no details on my skin. Even my t-shirt is completely blown out. And this is the exact reason why we need ND filters like this to simply limit the amount of light that's coming to our camera sensor. And this way we are able to keep our shutter speed at a desired number. Okay, but Sandmarc Motion Blur Filter is a variable ND filter. So what does it mean? How does a variable ND filter work? It simply allows you to have a precise control over your exposure. Now, if you take a closer look at the aluminum ring, you'll notice that there are some markings that are carved on it. And these markings gonna represent different stops of light. So starting with ND8, your filter is not gonna be so dark, you're gonna let more light into the camera. However, if you increase that value and you go up to ND32 or 64, you're gonna make the filter much darker. Thus, you're gonna let less light into your camera sensor. So obviously, depending on the weather conditions, if it's gonna be a bright sunny day, you have to adjust your filter accordingly. If it's gonna be a cloudy day, perhaps ND8 or ND16 gonna be just fine. On the other hand, if it's gonna be a super bright sunny day, you may want to go with ND32 or 64.
As you see, the sky is still a little bit overexposed, so let's lower down the ND filter to ND16. It looks better, but I think we can go a little bit higher, up to ND32. And that just looks perfect. Take a look at the sky, that the clouds are clearly visible. There are no burnt highlights in the sky. We can also rise it up to ND64, but I think that's gonna be a little bit too much for this case.
Now finally, let us see if it affects the video quality, because since we introduce a new layer of glass in front of our protective lens, perhaps the color or sharpness is affected. So let's find out. I also feel that it's worth to mention that Sandmarc Motion Filter is compatible with GoPro Hero 9 and Hero 10 Black. And I think if GoPro gonna decide to stick to the same form factor, it's gonna be compatible with Hero 11 as well. Now please take a closer look that the GoPro Hero 10 Black with this filter on weighs around 189 grams. Whereas the filter itself weighs around 36 grams. I also noticed that once you put that filter all the way in, I mean to the end of this line, it's quite difficult to get rid of that filter. So I really had to put a lot of force to get rid of it. Okay, so this is what Sandmarc Motion Blur has to offer. This accessory is a little bit pricey as it costs around $59.99 US, but I must tell you, this is a quality product. If you want to bring your footage to the next level, you simply want to stand out from the crowd, you want to give your footage that cinematic feel, having that motion blur in footage, then I think this is something for you. So whenever we apply an ND filter to our GoPro, we kind of make the whole scene so much darker and it resembles a scenario like in low light. And hyper smooth doesn't necessarily work well in low light scenario. It simply needs that crystal clear images to simply put them together and thus, as a result, giving us a stable video. What I also noticed when making this video is that Sandmarc Motion Filter gives a little bit of color cast, somewhere around the red tone. So when I was using auto white balance on my GoPro, it kinda sometimes struggled to give me a correct white balance. So I had to adjust it manually and give 4500 kelvins on the white balance scale. Once again, this is not something that you cannot fix in post-production, because you can always go to your editing software and simply fix the white balance in there, but again, this is something to keep in mind. Anyway guys, so for today's video, that's it. I hope you liked that content, I hope that you learned something from it, and you enjoyed it basically. If you liked that content, give me a thumb up, subscribe to the channel if you haven't before, smash the notification button so you don't miss my future content, and see you guys in the next one. Bye!